just push the button.
Okay, let me share my screen and let us. So, where is this agenda? So, what do we need to discuss? Today is US holiday, okay. So record to cloud, okay. So domain knowledge. Craig mentioned that we should fill this data for our team YAML profiles, but looking at Camille's profile, I'm not really sure I could put a lot into it. So like I will probably put Rails, maybe Postgres, but I'm not sure I could put any of this.
Just
So
maybe pick like one or two.
we don't have memory, right? I mean, or something like this, or performance. I didn't see this.
Is there something like domain expertise, Yamur?
There is front-end performance, as you could see, but interesting.
I think there is something like that.
So like
maybe there is backend.
There is domain expertise YAML.
Seriously? Okay.
You can check like the categories there.
Okay, let me put
and basically we can as well add more expertise.
Yeah, of course, we can add new ones. Like the whole Prometheus or PromQL thing is something that we added only recently. That was all like after I had trouble finding reviewers for reviews for MRs that contained PromQL. I actually suggested to add this, and there were a couple of people. I think Andrew, for instance, he said, "Yeah, I'm happy to do it." So we just added this. I think it's totally fine. It's up to us, kind of. I think we can add like a memory for performance. Is memory maybe too specific? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But we also have Ruby, which is also pretty specific. So
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have to decide now. You know,
Okay.
Alexi, I posted a link in the Zoom chat if you are interested.
Okay. In Zoom. Okay. So where is this chat? Yeah, this is always the issue. So okay, so let me link it. Chat is here. Okay. So
image processing. We can add now image processing.
Yeah. So I didn't check this link, to be honest. I mean, this is about how many staff plus engineers could be on the team, but probably something we could check in our free time, I think. So I think we would not dive deep into it for now. So team topics. It's the last week of the milestone. Please review all issues in 13.5. Do you want to start with point pairs or do you want to start with 13.5?
Should we? Yeah, I mean, I think in the past we just went through the issues together quickly, right? Or is there still another? Do we have another team meeting for the end? The end.
I wonder if we have, because it would be nice to have everyone.
We should, right? Because only the 12th, so it should
it'll be on
it's like and I think the Tuesday, I believe, or the Wednesday is basically freeze, right?
Okay. So let's start with point pairs for now because it's more straightforward, and then we could review the issues in the milestone. So image resizing, what I could say, we rolled out it last week, not the previous last week, because we had an issue where we needed to update a bit of workhorse and so on, but it was minor. And the data looks good, in my opinion. It's under two.
I just want to say thank you for driving this all to completion, because I know I left like 1 or 2 MRs kind of open.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, sure. So yeah, the data looks kind of fine, and I don't see any weird stuff except maybe max duration, but I put a specific like point on it. We will discuss it. So Yeah, I have a question. How long do we want to keep feature flags? Because that's something that is required to hand over the issue, but that's also something that allows us to roll back for now while we are still in observance mode. So my proposal is to keep with them for 1 week more, at least, because we were running only for 1 full week, and maybe it is not enough to hit all possible issues if there are some. So yeah.
So my suggestion, Alexi, would be like to first enable that by default, and second, migrate this feature flag to be ops type, because like ops type feature flag, it's by definition long-living feature flag that may have performance implications, and I think we may want to have a kill switch with this ops type. So kind of like have the single feature flag that would completely disable this functionality if we would find it somehow being the DOS. So this would be my proposal, like, and like keeping that for pretty long time, but like acknowledging that this is ops type of the feature flag that by definition is a long living, and it kind of serves as a kill switch for this feature in, I don't know, some edge case that we may run. That would be my suggestion.
Is the kill switch something like specific we need to implement ourselves, or does it come with ops flag by default?
No, it's like you convert that feature flag to be ops type, right? And like it behaves, it works exactly the same as the current feature flag, but you kind of like move the category from the development to ops, where like you consider this no longer be a development, but rather like a performance related feature flag that we may want to enable or disable, whatever style you choose, if there is something causing like instability to GitLab. That's the purpose of the ops type of the flags.
Okay, we'll do that. I will create the issue for this.
So like my suggestion is really not remove that, but rather ask that this is feature that may have performance implications, really, and we kind of keep that for a long period of time, as long as we kind of need that. But on the other hand, like we enable that for everyone by default.
Yeah. So with enabling this by default comes another question. So by enabling them by default, we like automatically enable everything for self-managed instances. So should we do any specific work on it, on self-managed, like, I don't know, some predictions of performance before enabling them by default? Because we did quite a lot of tests on GitLab.com, right? We did like a couple of preparation tests. We gathered a lot of data. We had this data, but on self-managed, we don't have like, at least I don't know which data do we have on self-managed. So how do we go with this?
My suggestion would be to use our test beds for different environment size and run that against that. So like for the reference architectures. So like we have QA and performance testing for different size of the environments, basically, as part of the grant work.
So it kind of blocks us to do this, right? I mean, because
I'm not convinced. Like I would personally kind of pretty much enable that right now, because like we tested that on the GitLab.com, and like at least from my understanding, like what we run on the self-managed, it's gonna be faster than on GitLab.com, but still having like this kill switch just in case.
But yeah, I think Josh's concern was not so much about how fast it is, but more that we might be expending more
earnings recipient
and not behind the CDN. because like I think his concern was that not enough requests are hitting the .conf application even compared to some of the bigger self-managed installations, because if they are not behind a CDN, yeah, it's just not that they would be slower, but that it would just hit this path more often than we would on GitLab.com. That's the concern, at least.
So like our QA should maybe answer that to some extent, but it's also pretty tricky, like to get a realistic profile of the data, because like we don't really know exactly what requests on the on-premise are being executed. So to be honest, like it's pretty hard like to test that like confidently for
Could
the
we just
on-premise
test the worst
installations,
case?
because we don't have the traffic profiles for these installations. We don't know exactly how many of the avatars that they request, basically.
But what if we just like brought up, if we just performance profiled like an avatar heavy endpoint, you know, like something that shows a long discussion with a lot of comment history or something like that. And then just see how CPU responds, and kind of looking at the worst case. And if the worst case is okay, then we're okay. Kind of approaching it from that point.
I'm not sure if this is gonna be conclusive, or like it's gonna be super helpful.
But how could we monitor if something will go wrong? If how do we could get the data from the support channels if something will be slow? Or do we have some usage ping? Or
wait, I think we're talking about two different things here, right? So you're talking about actually collecting real data from customers, right? But
we can do that, right? Okay.
I don't know. I think that's like one step maybe more in the future, because I mean we haven't even fully rolled it out on .com. I thought what we were talking about for now was to just performance test it for self-managed, just using our performance test suite. Right?
Yeah.
We do load testing already, so we could do that already. And in GCP, there's like a simple GCP has like you know, kind of like a they have like dashboards where you can look at what's that CPU doing on that pod and so forth. So they have some limited way of looking at what's going on. It might not be as detailed as whatever we have in Grafana, but
also another question.
Yeah.
Are we interested in getting like image resizing data from self-managed retroactively? I mean, do we want to include some sort of metrics into usage ping, or how it goes? I don't know, like, or we are not even care about that much.
So like,
I mean, if it works, it works.
But,
like with the usage ping, like we don't have anything that would help us today with the usage ping. You would have to add some metric to the usage ping that would check how many like these times we call this endpoint.
Yeah,
and it could be like part of the work that Matthias and Chinio did about the Prometheus metrics, basically, because there you have like information about the request being fired, and like you can execute from QL query. But it kind of makes us really like 3 weeks or 4 weeks into the future to get this data.
Yes, definitely. It's just a question for the future. So do we need to track this kind of question, or will it be tracked by other team and we don't care for now?
yeah, I wonder how useful that will be, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. So the next question, Camille is typing already. Yeah, I noticed that there are some very slow requests, but they're not even the 99th percentile. So I didn't spend a lot of time looking at this. So I wonder if we should like create an issue and spend time investigating them, or should we just let them be until we hit 99 percentile with something better?
No, it's a good question, Camille, but we don't do that. So that is, it's something we realized when we worked on, when we added, just before I left, we added the histogram for latency buckets, but that includes the time it takes to stream back, because that's the workhorse perspective. It's not the perspective. So we measure at the workhorse process level, right? So what workhorse is feeding back from the scalar process into the client, and so we measure the full round trip. So that includes streaming all the data back. So yeah, so if there's a slow client, it would be.
I think like if you would have time to the first byte, it would tell us if this is slow client or if this is the problem with the scalar.
Right. Yeah.
Because then, like, you know, I mean the buffer on the Golang, it's probably like either 4K or 32K. So you would always be able, like, to by looking at the time to the first byte, to kind of know exactly where the problem lies. And like, I'm actually having the same challenge right now with the GitLab pages, that we don't have time to the first byte, and sometimes we have long durations, but it's not indicative that GitLab pages is being slow. It can be indicative of client being slow. So this is like one of the, I think, missing metric that would help us to answer time, like how much latency versus actual transfer is there.
Okay, I think we'll create an issue and track this. I think it would be good to have this.
A great idea.
Yeah, let's do this.
That said, though, I mean, it looks, like you said already, it looks pretty good, right? I mean, I'm in the, that's a good segue maybe into the next point as well. Like I was looking at, I wasn't super happy with the existing dashboard we had in Prometheus, because I prefer to look at Prometheus, to be honest, not Kibana. Also because in Kibana, we only have a week's worth of data or something like that. And Thanos is like, goes back months, which is great. So I would prefer to focus on Prometheus from here on out, not Kibana. Yeah, so I'm basically working on the dashboard definition. It took me some time today to set up all this like lit sonnet. Is that what it's called? Like this like JSON-based definition language. Then you can write, there's a bunch of like examples to look at. So I'm kind of going from there, but it's kind of nice because then you can, from our buckets, you can create, you can pull out individual quantiles as well. And you can plot these, and then you can break them down by width and image format and stuff. So that's what I'm currently working on. Yeah, and so I have like I have a sample up already. It's just a snapshot, like it's a test dashboard. And I mean, so far it looks pretty good as well. I mean, I see barely anything over, or actually nothing over 200 milliseconds. So it's not too bad. Yeah, and also gives you automatically like minimum, maximum, average and stuff.
So I think that we could still log it, but we are logging this in Kibana, right? But
yeah, totally. We should keep logging
this in Prometheus in buckets.
Like, yeah, I mean, we have the data in Prometheus already. It's more about just adding a Grafana dashboard. I should have said I'm adding a Grafana dashboard. I mean, the data is in Prometheus, right? We added the histogram, remember? Like just before I left.
Yes.
We had a couple other things like how many scale-up processes are running and stuff. So I think it would be nice to have a Prometheus dashboard, because that will help with Thanos. We can then look at the long-term trends, which is something we can't do with Kibana. Yeah, I find it a bit like nicer to break down the data. It's a bit faster as well to work with Prometheus. Yeah.
So just to close image resizing, I would say is the most tricky bit, in my opinion, this one, because it's like, it's really not that clear how to proceed. I mean, of course, we could just roll it out, but it seems like Josh has some concerns, and we at least should answer them in some way. So I would say let's create these issues and try to concentrate. And if you look into the epic, let me look at this.
Can I ask a question quickly? Like, this is maybe not a good meeting for this, but if anyone like we can do it sometime this week, maybe. I would like to understand. I don't think I fully understand yet how all these caching layers work or interact currently that we serve static resources from, well, I guess you can't even consider this a static resource because we process it on the fly. But yeah, I don't think I fully understand it yet. Like what happens? Like what is really just because I assume there's separate levels of caching, right? Like those requests that never even hit the application stack that we not even see in Workhorse because they're serviced fully from the CDN. But then there are also requests that do hit the application where the client might ask, has this like a head request or something, right? Where I would ask, has this resource changed? And then the server might reply based on an ETAG or something that no, it has not changed. You don't have to re-download it, right? But it's still a request that hits the service. It will just not spawn like an image scaling process. So I would like to understand a bit better like how these all interact and when, yeah, like the whole caching behavior. I don't feel I have a good enough understanding. Like if anyone has that, I would be happy to.
Me too.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Or if someone like either if in person is not good, like we can, if someone has that knowledge and can write it up somewhere in that issue, that would be helpful. Because we have this open issue, like think about caching, but I can't even say I understand how our current caching layers work and interact. So I have a hard time participating on that issue right now.
Okay, we could like investigate this a bit, I think, and pair today in the first part of the day and see what we could sum up from caching. Okay, that's it for resizing. I will create issues. What about cache SQL calls? Yeah, so Camille mentioned that Nicholas merge request looks great. So hopefully it will close some. And I think the only thing that will be left is to write some sort of instruction or maybe some guideline for other teams, how we did that. And I expect Nicola will like work on this when he will be back. So RAM on GitLab. I don't know anything about this issue, unfortunately. So I think Chinyu mentioned this, that merge request is in review. So investigate memory leak. This is also Chinyu is working on, and he mentioned that he's still looking at. So anything else? Camille, Matthias, do we need something else about our
just a general question because I'm still catching up, but have there been, I just saw the planning issue for 13.6, I think. And had there been like, because that's this big epic about like GitLab on 2 gigabytes, I think it is. Like again, like cutting down on overall memory requirements. Is this something that, how soon do we think we should like, it would probably be good. That sounds like a big thing, like probably a lot of ways to go about it. It would be good to have some kind of kickoff for that epic, I think, together and like brainstorm it somehow. Yeah, I was just wondering if you had already talked about it while I was gone.
No, we didn't yet. So I think we should, yeah. It would be nice to have this week, even, I think.
Yeah.
Memory.
This week.
So that's it for like point pairs. So we could go through 13.6. I'm not sure we want to go through planning issue. We could quickly go through milestone dashboards and see if there are any issues that left. Where is this? This one. So what's left in 13.5 since it's going to close? This one is by Nicola, and I'm pretty sure it's related to merge request that will be merged soon. So I think it will be closed. This one, technically speaking, I think that this one will go to, we should either close this because rollout happened, but since this issue used to track feature flags and we still keep them, I think we could let it opened and keep it in 13.6. So implement until executed duplication strategy. I'm not sure what's with this issue. Okay, so this one is not being reviewed. To be honest, my opinion that this one will go to 13.6, knowing that Nicola is on PTO. So configure image scaling, I'm very close to it. We had like a full circle moving from like environment variables to config file, and I hope it will be merged soon. And I hope it won't require any significant effort from my side. So I will let it sit in 13.5. These ones. I'm not sure. Should we keep it there and let Nicola sort them out when he will be back from PTO? Or do we want us to just blindly move it?
Is that part of the stuff he's working on right now?
Yeah, that's part of it. Because the idea was to create a couple of issues for each like bad endpoint and close a couple of them and close other ones. So I'm not sure.
To just so that it's clear that it's being worked on.
Yeah, okay. I will assign it, and if we will not work on this, we will just either close it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else?
Well, the next one is probably for Nicola as well. I think probably has the best idea how to. Yeah, I like the document.
So
we can always move it if we can. Okay.
Yeah, I think we should move it. So we have a couple of new merge request issues. I don't know, I'm keeping them there because Chini is working on them and improving the data feedback cycle. It's on Craig. Investigate, that also goes.
It sounds like caching will slip, right? Because we're not really sure how to work.
It definitely will slip. Because, and this one, investigate impact, this definitely goes into next milestone. Hand over image scaling to product team.
I think next milestone, right? Because I mean, we're not even fully done with it.
So Camille, what about your feature flag, this CI bridge pipeline details?
I will remove that and close this issue. It's on for a very long time, so it's gonna be done.
Okay. So document why n+1 cache queries are considered bad. I think it's kind of linked with the issue we okay, I will just move it to the next without assigning, and Nicola will figure out. Update documentation for query recorder. I don't know what is query recorder. Okay, it's something Nicola worked on as well.
I would assign him if you want, because if no one is assigned on the issues, I just always doubt that people look at it, you know.
Okay.
It's fine. Like he can always assign it to someone else again. It's just so that someone. I mean, right now it looks like he has the most context on it. Like it's always fine to reassign it to someone else later on.
Okay. Good. So what else do we have? Memory team, data feedback, and Camille's issue. So we basically sorted it out. Don't know, it wasn't moved. Okay, so anything else we want to discuss?
I just added another item because I was curious about your opinion as well. So, so Action Cable has been deployed. So there's a rollout issue right now. I added it at the bottom. And there was a very surprising memory spike, not like as it was, so I wasn't around when it happened, but my understanding was it basically is related to the number of users that connected. And there was a 1 GB spike in memory on that worker, which is a lot. So they turn it off again, and we don't know what caused it, to be honest. So there is some, basically I left a couple suggestions what I think we could be doing about it, but I'm also not like super experienced with like debugging or profiling this stuff in prod. So if you have any idea for how to go about these things, that would be good to chime in, because I think also we need to help Heinrich out here a little bit. Like he's done with like most of the work on like this implementation, and yeah, so we're kind of looking to wrap up that initial, that phase one basically as well, to call that done. And yeah, it sounds like this might get stuck otherwise in the rollout, which would be very disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like this was totally unexpected, because that would translate, if this is correct, then this would translate to almost a megabyte per user connected in like extra memory use, which sounds like super excessive. And I have no idea what this would be. This was not something we were seeing while working on it. And it wasn't visible in Canary either, because like no one uses that feature on Canary. So yeah, so it's good that we're testing it in prod to see like how it behaves. But I think we might have to support him a little bit on this. I don't think we need a separate issue for this for now. Like, just keep an eye on it. But yeah, I wanted to bring it up.
Okay. So I guess that's it. Let me stop the recording.